Good evening, everyone. Got Billy Donovan here for pregame media. If you'll raise your hands, we'll get started. Joe Cowley.
Billy, how you doing?
Good, Joe. How are you? A film session, and then we ended up, getting on the court and working on the court.
Is this the biggest challenge I mean, obviously you've had big, huge situations, playoffs, things like that. But as far as the fundamentals of trying to get something together mid-season or do you remember this kind of pressure?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really look at it that way, Joe, as much as I look at a great opportunity to try to, figure out what's the best way with these new guys coming in that we can play. Not that we need to alter or change anything, but, Vuč is an interesting player, and, he's going to certainly call for more post-ups, maybe more than we have in the past. The only thing that I could maybe compare it to is, situation in Oklahoma City. But we had training camp. We traded for Carmelo the day before training camp opened, and he came in and there was a lot to, get ready for and prepare for. So, but we did have a little bit of a lead up time, which is a little bit different than this. But these guys have been great, and it's going to take probably a little bit of time. I can't expect them with the group that we have currently that's been with us since training camp to go through all of this that we've gone through and then expect a guy in one day to be able to absorb what these guys have had a chance to work on and drill on for months. But I am confident and believe the intelligence, the IQ of these guys, that they'll be able to pick things up. To your point, they're veteran, they're experienced, and they've been around.
Thanks, Billy.
You're welcome.
Chuck, go ahead.
Thanks, Kristen. Billy, good evening. I have a question. Normally, on a long road trip, there's bonding, there's an opportunity for team events. I'm not really sure what you're allowed to do, what you can't do on the road because the COVID and health and safety protocol guidelines. Are you hoping, because you have 5 new players, to get these guys together so they get acquainted with one another?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. There is limitations on what we can do, but obviously we're going to travel together on planes. They're in hotels together. We have meeting rooms if we're not going to, have a shoot around on a particular day. I really have encouraged those guys that they've got to spend time, together, just playing, with each other. Even talking to Vuč this morning a little bit, I think he's got a grasp on things we're trying to do. But like he said to me, the biggest thing for me is going to get used to playing with different players that I've never played with before. So they'll figure that out. But to your point, I think the more time that they spend with each other and talk and communicate, I think the easier it is to get those things worked out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Casey.
Hi, Billy. Yesterday, yesterday you'd mentioned that the plan was for Tice to meet you guys in Oakland or San Francisco or Bay Area, whatever. Is that still the plan? And will he be there in time for practice, or is that a Monday thing, as far as you know?
No, we're hopeful that he can be there for practice. Trying to work on making arrangements for him to be able to do that. That's the plan of now. But we do anticipate him being in Oakland, San Francisco, tomorrow.
Great. And then one more short one before I ask my larger question. The short one is Temple. He was available last game, but you said you weren't quite comfortable with what he had done in terms of encore work. I know practice time is scarce. Will he be playing tonight, or is the plan for him to play tonight?
He'll play tonight. We felt like, coming out of that back-to-back, We had a day off. He was able to get work in yesterday. We were able to practice. Wanted to do some things live to get some of those guys back playing, him in particular. So he went through all that fine. So, he'll be back and available to play.
Great. And lastly, this kind of leads in. I mean, obviously now you have a whole different rotation to figure out and different possibilities. And, Tice isn't even in the mix yet. Is this going to be kind of a work of progress for you and your staff as you move forward through these next few games?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see. To your point, Daniel's not here right now with the team, so we'll have to incorporate him, once we get out to California. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, different things. It makes it a little bit, I don't want to say easier tonight, but, in terms of with Gaff, no longer here, with Wendell no longer being here, our two centers basically are Chris and Thad. And, Thad's played there quite a bit. So you're going to obviously anticipate using him there in that position again. There will be, and probably maybe possibly be, some moments that him and Vuč do play together some. But mixing up Lowry and Vuč and Thad, I think, will be important. And then once Daniel gets back, we'll have to figure out that piece of it as well. So that will be the challenge, in terms of utilizing that group here tonight to see, to your point, who fits, has it looking. Listen, it's not going to be perfect right away. I understand that, but I do feel very, very confident with the group. The dialogue, the communication, even in shoot around, the asking questions, not only by those veteran players, but even asking questions to guys that have been here, them trying to work things out, figure it out. And from my perspective as a coach, I don't want to overwhelm those guys. I want them to play, and they're smart enough. They've been in the league long enough. They're experienced enough. They're going to have to figure it out on the fly, and I trust and believe they can do that.
Thank you, Billy.
Yep.
Looks like we have one more question from Darnell.
Yeah, Billy, if I could go back to 2017 for a minute. I think I came to Chicago about 3 weeks after you guys with the Thunder traded for Melo. So I remember him landing in your lap and thinking you had all of August or July and August and most of September to plan and prepare a certain way and to play a certain style. And then all of a sudden, a generational player was dropped in your lap. I was thinking, how could you possibly on the fly adjust? And now this is kind of a similar situation. What is that process like for when a player like this is dropped in your lap where you have to play a drastically different style of play? The preparation and
yeah, I think, obviously Carmelo will go down as one of the greatest all-time scorers the game has ever seen, and he was great to work with. It was a tough situation. I think he'd even tell you that. Obviously Paul George was there, Russell was there, and, all those guys were the reason they became who they are as players is because the ball was in their hands a lot and they were able to create and make plays for themselves. And to your point, you're going into an off season with Paul and Russell, and you're looking at different things schematically to do. And then Carmelo comes, and to be quite honest, we struggled for a while offensively, just trying to mix and match and do some of those things. And then, Carmelo was great, in terms of he was really trying to do everything he possibly could do to make it work with the group. I think our offensive rating was not very good for a while, but I think as the year finished up, we really got a lot better and much improved. But, we did have a training camp. You did have 82 games. So we knew it was going to take a little bit of time, with those guys to learn how to play off of each other some. This is a little bit different from the standpoint that we don't have a lot of time, and we'll have to be able to, I think, adjust on the fly. And you want to be able to play well. There's going to be things that are going to happen tonight that are not going to be a lot of these guys' faults. It's not going to be their fault. Now, obviously, they all know they got to block out. They all got to know they got to get back in transition. But the timing, the execution, calling out coverages and pick and rolls, those that's a lot of habitual things that get built up over time. We're going to have to obviously try to expedite that process as much as possible. But, I do think that the things that we're doing offensively, Vuč is the kind of guy that, it was like when I talked to Gallo when he came into Oklahoma City, he was just like, listen, however you guys are playing, I'll figure it out and I can fit in. I think Vuč is a guy that he can post up, he can put the ball on the floor, he can shoot threes. He's a passer, a facilitator. I think he'll be able to figure out where to pick his spots, where you're not going in and entirely changing your offense. Now, there's things without question we got to get in for him. to play to his strengths. But I also think a lot of the things that we do play to his strengths of what he does well. And then it's a matter of now, how do we build out and add out some of those things for him? And even, Al Farouk, even Daniel Tice, all those guys, Troy and Javante, being wing players, it's always a little bit easier. I think that the more difficult or challenging ones are the front court guys. It's just a lot different because some guys' skill sets at the front court, can be really different. But for a guy like Troy Brown, right, he's slashed, he's driven, he's played on the perimeter, he puts it on the floor. Like, he's going to be able to play in a lot of different situations, or has played in that. Sometimes the front court guys, it's a little different.
My second question is about Troy. He comes in with a potential, but at the same time, he faces a loaded group of veterans in front of him, and Garrett and Denzel and Ryan Arch, who you trust and rely on. What does he have to do? What do you know about him, and what does he have to do to be able to crack that rotation?
Well, obviously came into the league, very, very young. I think like a lot of young players, you see the inconsistency shooting the ball. He's got a good enough stroke that I think over time he'll continue to get better. I think he's got a good feel of how to play in terms of putting the ball on the floor and passing. I think he can defend, on the perimeter, pretty well. But the balance, I think, Darnell, for our team is if you just put 4 new guys out there, 3 new guys out there at a time without having maybe a couple guys around to kind of help on the court, that's the tough part. So I think everybody's going to need to keep themselves ready, as we kind of work through some of this stuff. But I am excited about him as a player, and just the little bit of time I've spent with him and just our conversations. And I think he's eager to be here, eager to get to work, and eager to figure things out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And okay, we will take the last one from Cody.
I just had one quick one, Billy. Zach's good to go tonight after he was on the injury report as questionable.
Yes, he'll be available to play tonight.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
All right, that's it then. Thank you guys. See you post game.